Discover the incredible journey of hope, surviving 30 days in a Victorian snowstorm without gas. Sarah stood at the window, her breath fogging the glass, watching the first snowflakes dance down from a gray sky. They twirled and spun like lost souls in search of warmth. The world outside was a winter wonderland, yet inside her modest home, despair lurked like a cloud. The local diner had shuttered its doors, and with it, Sarah's last source of income. She hugged her children, Emily and Jack, close. They deserved cozy evenings, hot cocoa, and maybe even a Christmas tree, not the bitter chill threatening to seep through every cracked corner. "Mommy, I'm cold," Jack said, his little fingers icy against her cheek. The tightness in her chest intensified. She had just enough fuel to keep the house warm for a few more days. After that, it felt as if the walls were inching closer, the air growing heavier, suffocating her hope. Could she really make it through the storm? As the wind howled and plunged the town into darkness, the whispers grew louder. The community she had always celebrated for its warmth now felt vicious. Judgment hung like a noose. How far were people willing to extend a hand before backing away, afraid of what it might cost them? With a heavy heart, Sarah turned her thoughts to Mr. Thompson, the elderly veteran who lived down the road. Despite their age difference, he had a familiar kindness about him. When he'd offered a few dollars here and there, she turned him down, stubbornly clinging to her pride. The thought of accepting his help knotted her stomach. But pride wouldn't feed her children. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then it happened, a slip that led to chaos. Jack, in his playful attempt to keep warm, stumbled, knocking over a table lamp. It shattered with a sound that felt like glass slicing through the silence of her heart. The hardest hit wasn't the lamp. It was the fear. Could she really continue like this? Falling apart in front of her children felt unacceptable. Yet there she was, gathering the shards of glass and heartache. Mr. Thompson, hearing the commotion, appeared at the door just as she crumpled to the floor, tears streaming down her cheeks. Suddenly, it wasn't just her pain. It was there, on his weathered face too. They locked eyes, and in that moment of vulnerability, the gulf of their pasts felt a little less vast. The storm raged outside, a furious tempest mirroring their own struggles. But was there solace to be found together? As they stood in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging thickly in the air, Sarah slowly began to realize that she might not have to face the storm alone. She could reach out and accept the help offered, weaving their stories into something new. With the snow beginning to die down outside, Sarah stared at the window, clouds easing up, and within she found the faintest glimmer of hope. Would the community find a way to rally for her and Mr. Thompson? Or would they be left to battle their hardships alone? One thing was certain, the mantle of independence needed a new definition. And perhaps, just perhaps, this storm could reshape everything, including her understanding of what home truly meant. The door creaked open, and Mr. Thompson stepped inside, shaking off the snowflakes that danced on his shoulders. His presence brought a flicker of warmth, a reminder that perhaps not all was lost. "Sarah," he said gently, kneeling beside her. "Are you okay?" The concern in his voice sent a wave of gratitude washing over her, even as the tears still stained her cheeks. "I am trying," she managed, guilt tightening her throat as she realized how vulnerable she had become. Not just to him but to the whole world. "Sometimes trying is enough," he replied, his voice a steady anchor amidst her chaos. He reached out a weathered hand, offering a comforting pat on her shoulder. It was an act so simple yet filled with profound understanding. "Let me help you," he continued, his eyes narrowing with resolve. "It's been a hard few weeks for everyone, and the diner closing has been felt beyond its doors. But you've got to know, people care. They worry about you and your kids. His words floated in the air, settling in her heart like soft snow. The townsfolk, those she feared, were not just mere judgments they had become in her mind. Maybe they were capable of compassion, of sharing burdens even when they wore their own heavy weights. "Mr. Thompson, I don't want to impose," she replied, wrapping her arms tightly around herself. "Imposing is when you refuse help when it's offered," he said, his eyes fierce with determination. "You're not a burden, Sarah. You're a neighbor, like everyone else in this town." She sat silently, the weight of his words mixing with the sounds of the storm outside. There was an undeniable truth in his message, and as that truth washed over her, she felt the chill beginning to melt away. "You may not believe it yet, but you're part of something bigger. We're all in this together. Your needs are my needs, and vice versa." He wrapped his thick fingers around hers, and for the first time, she didn't pull away. "Do you think they'd be willing?" He nodded slowly. "I can spark the conversation. I know some folks who would jump at the chance to lend a hand. But you must be willing to accept the help, Sarah." Her heart raced at the thought. Trusting others again felt terrifying after so much solitude. But there was this budding sense of possibility anchored by Mr. Thompson's unwavering stare. "I guess I could try," she breathed, the words feeling heavier than she anticipated. "Good. That essay start." He smiled, the warmth reaching his eyes. "What's that phrase? Every great journey begins with a single step." Suddenly, Jack tugged on her skirt, his small face peeking out from behind her, curiosity evident in his wide eyes. "Mommy, can we make hot cocoa? We have marshmallows." A soft laugh escaped Sarah, and she nodded. "Yes, let us do that." She pulled Jack close, feeling the warmth of his little body against her. The anxiety in her chest lessened, replaced by the gentle reminder that even in bleak winters, sweetness could still emerge. As they moved towards the kitchen, she caught Mr. Thompson smiling at Jack, a glimmer of memories of days past dancing behind his eyes. "After cocoa, why don't we think about a plan?" he suggested, the words infused with the promise of action. "A plan." The idea sparked in her mind like a match against wood. Their paths had intertwined in this storm, and perhaps together, they could weather the winds and make it to the other side. But the challenge loomed, shadowed by her fears. Could she truly open her heart and home to those who might help? Could she trust again? As they prepared the warm drink surrounded by the crackling fire, the outside world dimmed a little, and within her, hope flickered brighter. What awaited them on the journey ahead? Would friendship blossom amidst shared challenges, or would fear hold her back once more? She glanced at Mr. Thompson, determined yet cautious. The answer was closer than she thought. The rich aroma of cocoa enveloped the small kitchen, the steam rising like soft whispers into the chilly air. Jack bounced on his toes, eyes shining in anticipation as Sarah stirred the pot. Each swirl brought warmth not just to the liquid but to the growing bond that was beginning to weave between her, her son, and Mr. Thompson. "Let us add the marshmallows, Mommy," Jack chimed, his enthusiasm infectious. He grabbed the bag, his tiny hands almost dropping it in excitement. Sarah smiled at him, a genuine smile that reached deep within. "We need to save some for Mr. Thompson too, you know." He nodded solemnly, clearly weighing the importance of sharing this chocolatey goodness. She watched him carefully, the way he immersed himself in little things, as if they were the grandest adventures. Maybe there was a lesson buried in his innocence, one she could learn from. As they set the mugs on the table, Mr. Thompson joined them, his eyes sparkling like the firelight. "It looks delightful," he said, lifting a mug with both hands. "Nothing warms the heart like hot cocoa." They all took a sip, the warmth rushing through Sarah, melting the ice that had formed around her heart over the weeks. She glanced at Mr. Thompson, who was watching Jack intently, his gaze softening. In that moment, something shifted. The barriers she'd been building were starting to crack. "Jack, you know what I used to love doing when it snowed?" Mr. Thompson asked, and the boy leaned in, intrigued. "What?" Jack's eyes widened, his mouth barely containing a grin. "Building snow forts," he said, a spark of nostalgia lighting his voice. "We would compete to build the tallest one. I think I can still remember the best spots in town. Can we, Mommy? Jack begged, bouncing in his seat. Can we build a fort? Sarah hesitated. The thought of going outside felt overwhelming. But Jack's excitement was genuine, and Mr. Thompson's encouraging nod urged her on. Okay, she said with a feigned bravado, though she felt her heart thudding wildly. After the mugs were emptied and the remnants of cocoa were wiped away, they bundled up in their warmest clothes. Stepping outside, the world looked entirely different, transformed under a thick white blanket. The snow crunched delightfully beneath their boots, each step an invitation into a new chapter. Mr. Thompson led the way, his laughter echoing against the wind as Jack darted ahead, leaving tiny footprints. For the first time in what felt like ages, Sarah felt free, like the snowflakes dancing around her, swirling in unpredictable directions yet somehow landing softly, gracefully. The fort came together, walls rising as they threw snow, their teamwork surprising even Sarah. Every laugh and playful shove seemed to lift a weight off her shoulders. Mr. Thompson even launched a snowball that landed squarely on her back, sending them all into fits of laughter. But beneath the joy lingered a tightness in Sarah's chest. Building the fort felt like more than just a fun activity. It symbolized something deeper, a chance to reclaim her life, to embrace help, and to trust again. As they fortified their creation against the relentless snow, Jack's bold voice piped up. Mommy, can we invite everyone to play too? Her heart dropped a little. Could they? Would she? The thought of opening up, of allowing others into this moment of happiness, danced tantalizingly near yet felt terrifying. Mr. Thompson glanced over, an understanding gleam in his eyes, as if sensing her silent battle. It could be a fun community thing, he chimed in, encouragement woven through his words. The suggestion lingered there, hanging in the air like a snowflake before it touched the ground. Sarah's heart raced. The walls around her were tumbling, but could she take that leap? As they finished the fort together, a question flashed in her mind. If she could open her door to joy, could she also open it to vulnerability? The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow over the snow, and Sarah felt the air shift around them. Tomorrow would bring a new challenge, and the thought made her pulse quicken. What would happen when she faced the town, when she allowed them into her life and her heart? Are you ready for this, Sarah? She whispered to herself as Jack scampered around the fort, laughter bubbling in the chilly air. And there it was, the gentle urging at the edges of her mind, teasing her onward. What if the next step led to unexpected kindness or buried fears? With the world around her lit in warmth, the hope palpable, a new chapter beckoned, waiting for her to turn the page. The morning sun spilled over the horizon, turning the snow into shimmering diamonds. Jack was up before the alarm, buzzing with excitement. Mommy, we need to build more snowmen, he exclaimed, racing down the hallway. Sarah smiled, stretching in bed, still feeling the warmth of yesterday's laughter. But her heart fluttered uncertainly. The idea of including the community weighed on her. Would they join in the fun? Or would she once again find herself in the shadows, hoping for connection while keeping her distance? As they bundled up once more, Jack's persistent energy pulled her along like a kite caught in the wind. I hope Mr. Thompson comes over again, he chirped, dancing around her as she tightened her scarf. Me too, buddy, she replied, a genuine smile creeping onto her face. Just the thought of him brightened her mood. He had been a beacon of warmth during the coldest days. Once outside, they took a moment to admire their snow fort, absolutely magical against the stark white landscape. Jack rushed to touch it, his laughter ringing out like music. Sarah's chest tightened with anticipation as she looked around, half expecting neighbors to emerge through the falling flakes. All right, let us make some snowmen, she called, determination filling her voice, and no sooner had Jack begun rolling snowballs when Mr. Thompson appeared at the end of the street, his figure large and inviting against the wintry background. As he approached, Sarah felt a stir of possibility within her. Good morning, he called, a twinkle in his eye. Looks like you've got a snow army happening here. Jack giggled. We're making a whole snow family. His eyes sparkled, and Sarah's heart swelled. The community, the joy it all felt just within reach. "Mind if I join in?" Mr. Thompson asked, kneeling beside Jack. "Building snowmen is one of my specialties." With that, Sarah watched as the two of them teamed up, giggles echoing as they playfully competed to create the most magnificent snowman. Sarah stood back for a moment, warmth blooming in her chest. The magic of the moment was more than just snow and laughter. It symbolized growth, healing, and really, the courage to let joy in again. But then, Jack's voice cut through her thoughts. "Mommy, can we invite the whole neighborhood?" Her stomach dropped. Could she really do that? The idea of opening up her home once more felt like standing on a ledge, peering down into the unknown. Memories of past gatherings, laughter shared, and friendships forged danced in her mind. The warmth enveloping her now made her think just maybe could they all come together again. Courage fueled by the joy around her began to pierce through her fears. Here with Jack and Mr. Thompson, she felt the foundation of something new emerging. "Perhaps we could host a winter festival," Sarah said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Invite the neighbors over for hot cocoa and games?" Yes, that would be so fun." Jack jumped up and down, his excitement contagious. Mr. Thompson beamed. "I think it's a wonderful idea. We can spread the word. You already have a few folks here in your backyard." Sarah looked around, suddenly aware of their small world, gathering warmth in the cold, and it filled her with a rush of hope. She could already envision the laughter, conversations, and the comfort of shared moments. But deep down, doubt flickered like shadows in a dimly lit room. What if no one showed up? What if her attempt to connect just ended up in disappointment? As they resumed their snowman building, Sarah felt the weight of her thoughts. She knew, though, that this could be the first step toward finding her place again, to not just be the observer, the one waiting for connection, but to be at the center of it herself. With each ball of snow they created, with each laugh shared, Sarah felt a small yet significant transformation blossoming. She was tired of standing in the shadows. Today was about taking risks, about letting new possibilities unfurl. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, she felt a flicker of resolve spark within her. Would tomorrow truly mark the start of a new path? Or would it be another day spent on the sidelines? With her heart pounding and determination growing, one question lingered. Could she really embrace this leap into community with open arms? As Jack hoisted a carrot to decorate their snowman, Sarah caught Mr. Thompson's gaze, and he nodded knowingly, the warmth of his encouragement backing her decision. Tomorrow was a new day, filled with potential. What challenges would they face, and what joys awaited? Would she find the courage to fully open her door and her heart? The sun rose the next morning, cloaking the world in a soft golden light that glimmered on the snow. Sarah woke early, the excitement coursing through her veins like electricity. Today was the day she would reach out to her neighbors, and the thought stirred both hope and anxiety within her. She glanced at Jack, still snug in his blankets, and smiled. The little boy was a bundle of joy, bringing sunlight even on the coldest mornings. Over breakfast, Jack bounced in his seat, practically vibrating with anticipation. "Mommy, can we have snowball fights too?" he asked, eyes shining bright. "Yes, buddy," Sarah replied, her heart warming at his enthusiasm. "We'll have games and fun for everyone who comes." As she stirred his cereal, she felt that flicker of courage from the day before reigniting within her. It was okay to be scared, but she didn't want to let fear dictate her life any longer. After breakfast, Sarah gathered decorations and supplies. The house was filled with the sounds of crinkling paper and clinking mugs as she prepared for the gathering. In a quiet moment, she shut her eyes and took a deep breath, envisioning the walls of their home brimming with laughter, voices mingling together like notes in a song. But then, a wave of doubt crashed over her. What if no one came? What if it was just the three of them, and she was left standing in the middle of a party that wasn't really a party at all? "Mommy?" Jack's voice pulled her back to reality. He stood proud, wearing his coat, ready to go outside. "Can we start the fun now?" "Of course. Let us get outside and spread the word." She forced a smile, even as her heart danced nervously in her chest. The cold air felt sharp against Sarah's cheeks as they stepped outside. She took a moment, inhaling the brisk scent of pine and snow. Jack squealed with joy as he plopped into a pile of snow, creating a whimsical snow angel. She took a deep breath, surveying the neighborhood, its quiet charm still nestled under a blanket of white. "Okay, let us start with them," she said, pointing to Mrs. Jenkins next door. Sarah's heart raced as she approached their gate, knocking with a determination that surprised her. Moments later, Mrs. Jenkins opened the door, her warm smile cutting through the chilly air. "Well, hello, Sarah. Good morning, Jack." "Hi, Mrs. Jenkins. We're having a winter festival today. We'd love for you to come," Jack added enthusiastically. "There will be hot cocoa and snowball fights." "Now that sounds delightful. Count me in," Mrs. Jenkins replied, her eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. With each neighbor they visited, more smiles emerged. John and Lily from across the street were the next to join. Then the Rodriguez family just a few houses down. Laughter echoed as Jack engaged the kids, showing them his best snowball technique, and slowly but surely, Sarah could feel a transformation unfurling in her own heart as they handed out invites. Sarah began to see her worries drift away like the snowflakes in the air. What if nobody came? Had somehow turned into what a wonderful turnout. As the neighborhood buzzed with life as they returned home, Jack was full of energy. "Mommy, we have so many friends coming. This is going to be amazing." Sarah caught Mr. Thompson's eye once more as he exited his house with a smile that reminded her of the sun breaking through the clouds. "You're doing great," he called over, the warmth in his voice reassuring her in unexpected ways that it didn't take long before the gathering began to take shape. Decorations swayed gently in the breeze, twinkling lights reflected in the freshly fallen snow, and Sarah felt a warmth spreading through her, igniting her spirit like a spark. But as the hour approached, a small knot of worry twisted in her stomach. Just as she began to entertain anxious thoughts, the laughter of children drew her attention. It was Jack, beckoning her to join in the fun they had created. In that moment, she realized that no matter how the day unfolded, she had already taken the biggest step. She had welcomed hope and connection into her life as dusk settled over. The neighborhood, snow glistened like stars under the night sky. Sarah glanced at her watch and felt something shift within her. Tonight would be a night they would never forget, or at least, she hoped. What if this was only the beginning? What surprises lay hidden within the gathered community? Would she truly find the support and friendship she had yearned for all along? As the first neighbors began to arrive, Sarah took a deep breath, her heart racing with anticipation. The first neighbor to arrive was Mr. Jenkins, a true delight who brought with him a thermos of hot apple cider. "I thought this might warm us up," he said with a wink, presenting the gift as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Jack's eyes lit up, and he eagerly helped pour cups for the group. It was a simple gesture, but the warmth flowed not just from the cider but from the joy of connection as more families trickled in. The laughter grew louder, filling the air with an unmistakable sense of togetherness. Children dashed through the snow, their shouts of glee echoing, creating a magical backdrop. Sarah watched as Jack led a group of kids in a game of making the biggest snowman anyone had ever seen. It felt like a world imagined in a storybook, where there were no fears, only fun and friends. Sarah crossed her arms, leaning against the doorframe for a moment, absorbing the scene. Her heart swelled as she witnessed how her small idea had blossomed into something beautiful. It was as if every ounce of anxiety had been transformed into pure joy, weaving through the crowded spaces of their yard. "Sarah, look at this," Jack called, tossing her a handful of snow that didn't quite miss its mark. The icy flakes landed on her cheek, sending her into fits of giggles. A young girl approached, her cheeks flushed from cold. "Can we have a snowball fight, please?" "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her spirit buoyed by the enthusiasm of the children. The back and forth of snowballs began, with laughter ringing out through the neighborhood. Sarah joined in, her laughter mingling with Jack's and those of the new friends surrounding them. It hardly mattered that she was aching to catch her breath from running around. The simple act of being part of something so lively filled her with warmth. But just as she began to embrace the joy completely, Sarah noticed a cluster of neighbors huddled together, whispering in low tones. A small frown formed on her lips as curiosity bubbled within her. Had she done something wrong? Was there something she hadn't considered? Everything all right? She asked, approaching them with a lightness that didn't fully disguise her concern. Oh, we were just talking about how much we missed these gatherings, Mrs. Rodriguez said, her caring voice soothing the sudden tightening in Sarah's chest. And we were wondering if you'd consider making this a regular thing? Another neighbor chimed in, their eyes shining with hope. The question hit Sarah like a snowball to the chest. Regular gatherings? It was a beautiful thought, one that brought the image of a close-knit community alive in her mind. But with it came the fear of commitment. What if she couldn't keep it up? What if they all expected too much? I hadn't thought about that, Sarah stammered, searching for the right words. I just wanted to bring people together for the holidays. Sarah, Mr. Thompson interrupted gently, a reassuring smile breaking through his beard. You've already done that. You brought us all together with your kindness and courage. I think we all feel the same way. We'd love to help to share in this. What if they actually meant it? What if this was the bridge she needed to step further into their world? The thought scared her, but the glimpse of camaraderie and friendship pushed her to contemplate the possibilities. As the evening wore on, the snow continued to fall, softly blanketing their gathering in a layer of serenity. The children huddled around a bonfire, toasting marshmallows, while adults exchanged stories of old. Joy was etched across every face, and Sarah realized she felt something she hadn't in years: belonging. But just as the thought of hope filled her heart, she heard a loud crash from behind the house. The laughter halted abruptly, replaced by a tense silence. What was that? Jack whispered, his tiny hand gripping hers tightly. She took a deep breath, a mix of curiosity and apprehension swirling in her chest. What if this was a moment that changed everything again? Might the evening take an unexpected turn? With every step toward the source of the sound, her heart raced. What awaited them would challenge everything. As Sarah and Jack moved toward the sound, she felt the air grow colder, an uneasy chill creeping in. The rest of the neighbors caught on, their curious faces turning toward the back of the house. The laughter that had filled the evening now lay still, replaced by an anxious tension that hung thick in the air. What do you think happened? Sarah whispered, her heart thudding in her chest. She attempted to maintain a brave face for Jack, but deep down, uncertainty gnawed at her. I don't know. Maybe it was just the wind or something, Jack said, but his wide eyes told her he was just as worried. They rounded the corner of the house, the snow crunching underfoot, and stopped dead in their tracks. A large tree limb had snapped, falling across the backyard. It lay in a tangled mess of branches, and a couple of children stood nearby, eyes wide as saucers. No one was hurt, right? Sarah asked, scanning the area quickly. Relief flooded her when she saw everyone standing and unharmed, though a few kids were still looking on in awe at the fallen limb. It scared us, chimed in the young girl from earlier, her face flushed with excitement rather than fear. Look at it. It's huge. Jack, still gripping Sarah's hand, looked at her and then back at the fallen branch. Can we make a fort out of it? He asked, his tone hopeful, realizing that the surprise could soon turn into another game. Let us see what we can do, Sarah said, her spirits rising again, the worry evaporating like steam from a warm cup. With a flicker of inspiration, she faced the group of adults who had followed them outside. What if we all work together? We can turn this mishap into something fun. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. One by one, the neighbors stepped closer. Their previous concern shifted to curiosity and enthusiasm. Mr. Jenkins took charge, rallying troops for the fort construction while encouraging a few of the teenagers to gather the lighter branches strewn around. Jack grinned, his initial fear replaced with excitement as other kids rushed to join him, ready to dig into the new project. Sarah couldn't help but smile at the scene. Here in their little neighborhood, a moment that threatened to break their joy had instead become a symbol of unity as the children laughed and stacked branches. The adults pitched in, bringing blankets to line the fort, some carrying cups of cedar to keep spirits warm. Conversations grew louder as ideas bounced around. Laughter bubbled, and plans sparked. Before long, the fallen limb transformed from a nuisance into a central feature of the evening. The fire crackled nearby, warmth emanating from both the flames and the collective heart of the neighborhood. Their efforts were met with cheers as the fort took shape. It became a cozy enclave, decorated with icicles that hung like crystals from the branches. That moment, Sarah stood back, eyes sparkling with awe, and took it all in. The warmth of the cider, the flickering bonfire, the laughter of kids echoing across the snow. This was the heart of community. But just as she soaked in the joy of what they had created together, her phone buzzed in her pocket, vibrating with urgency. Confused, she pulled it out, and her heart sank as she read the message. It was about an important meeting she had completely forgotten, a meeting that could unravel everything she thought she was building here. "Sarah, are you okay?" Jack asked, watching her face change. "I need to take care of something," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "But I'll be right back. Promise." As she stepped away, heart heavy with the weight of her responsibilities, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the very community she was beginning to embrace might slip right through her fingers. Could she balance this newfound joy with her other obligations? Would it all come crashing down like that fallen branch? With a base of uncertainty swirling inside her, she moved toward the house, the warmth fading behind her as she pondered what awaited her in the world beyond her neighborhood's embrace. What decisions lay ahead, and could she find a way to hold on to this moment? As Sarah stepped into the house, the warmth enveloped her like a thick blanket. She glanced back at the gathering outside, her heart a tangled mess. The joy bubbling in the backyard felt a world away from the looming meeting she had just been reminded of. Her phone buzzed again, pulling her back to the reality inside the house. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, the familiar scent of cinnamon and pine filling her senses. She loved this home. It was her haven, yet it now felt heavy with expectations. Rounding the corner into the kitchen, she found her husband, Mark, pouring steaming mugs of hot cocoa. His face brightened when he saw her, but that quickly faded as he noticed the weight in her eyes. "Hey, you all right? You look like you just saw a ghost," he said, placing the mugs on the table. "I just remembered I have a meeting." She hated the disappointment in her voice. Mark frowned. "That important one with the investors?" "Yeah," she replied, her fingers tracing the rim of the mug. "I was so caught up in the evening that I completely lost track of time. I thought I could enjoy tonight without thinking about it." "Sarah, you don't have to go if you don't want to. It's okay." Mark's voice was calming, yet it made her heart heavy again. She could picture his supportive smile pulling her from the storm that raged in her mind. But she also saw the faces of the people depending on her, the new community she was finally starting to feel at home with. "No, I need to go. It matters," she insisted, even as her heart wanted to rebel against the notion of breaking away from the happiness outside. "Maybe you just need to be there for a bit. You can come back later. They'll still be making forts, right?" Mark said, his brow furrowing in concern. "Maybe they won't need me." Her voice came out smaller than she meant. The moment felt fragile, and she could almost hear the laughter drifting through the walls, urging her back outside. "Okay, here's an idea," Mark said, plopping down next to her with determination. "How about I take the hot cocoa out there? You can talk with the investors, but then you're returning to the fort, okay? We can handle this together." By the time he finished, she felt a rush of warmth. He always knew how to pull her back to the light. "You promise?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "I promise," he smiled, and the corners of her heart began to soften. Just then, the door flung open, and Jack raced in, his cheeks flushed and eyes gleaming. "Mom, Dad, you've got to see it. Our fort is the best ever. You won't believe how cozy it is. I'm on my way," Sarah exclaimed, the excitement breaking through the tension. Jack paused, looking between his mom and dad, sensing a change in the air. "Are you okay, Mom?" "Yeah, buddy. I will be," she replied, feeling the stir of hope within her. With a quick hug, she made a decision. Maybe this was about balance and not choosing between joy and responsibility. "Let us go," she said, determination rebuilding in her chest. "But first, let us make sure you've got some hot cocoa. We can't have you getting cold out there." Jack nodded eagerly, and as Mark poured the hot drinks, Sarah couldn't help but smile at how easily love pulled them together, binding the threads of their life. With steaming mugs ready and hearts lifted, they stepped back outside into the world that felt a bit brighter. The laughter grew louder, and they were met with a vision of camaraderie that enveloped them like a warm embrace. But the moment of joy would soon collide with the reality of her decisions. Her phone buzzed again, and Sarah glanced down at the screen, her heart skipping. What awaited her in that meeting could still change everything she had just begun to build. "Mom, are you coming to the fort or not?" Jack called, breaking her thoughts. Just as she took her first step toward the laughter, she felt a pang of doubt. Would her involvement slip into a distraction from what she really needed? With a mix of apprehension and hope tightening inside her, Sarah glanced at Mark, searching for reassurance. "Let us do this together," he said, squeezing her hand. As they began to walk toward the fort, the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving her at the edge of two worlds, one inviting, filled with laughter, and the other looming, filled with uncertainty. What choices lay ahead? And could she keep balancing this delicate moment of joy without losing it all? As they approached the gathering, Sarah felt the warmth of the laughter wrap around her like a cozy sweater. Jack scampered ahead, weaving through clusters of kids eager to show off their handiwork. She watched him with an aching heart, pride swelling within her like the gentle rise of dough. Mark stayed close, his hand firmly around hers, the reassurance steadying her. Sarah took a deep breath, drawing in the crisp night air mixed with the sense of pine and wood smoke. For now, she could push the meeting aside, shifting her focus entirely to the joyful chaos in front of her. "Mom, look," Jack shouted, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Sarah squatted beside him as he pointed to their newest construction, an elaborate fort that seemed to stretch impossibly high, draped in blankets and patches of glowing fairy lights. "We have a lookout and everything." "Wow, that's amazing," she said, genuinely impressed. The effort they put into it was palpable, a testament to their collective spirit. Her heart soared at the sight, drowning out the anxious thoughts that had invaded her mind moments ago. "Do you think it can fit all of us?" Mark queried, a playful glint in his eye. "Definitely," Jack beamed, his grin wide enough to illuminate the whole backyard. As others poured in, the fort quickly transformed into a lively hub. Laughter mixed with the cheerful banter drew Sarah in like a magnet. She felt the weight on her shoulders ease, even if just a little. When she caught Mark's eye, he nodded approvingly, affirming her choice to be present. "Isn't this incredible?" she whispered to him later as they stood outside the fort, watching the kids. "It really is," he replied, warmth reflecting in his gaze. But Sarah's phone buzzed again, this time vibrating against her pocket. She muted it, not wanting to ruin this moment of brilliance they had crafted around the fort. Yet the reality of the meeting loomed above her like darkening clouds. It was hard to ignore the tug of responsibility creeping back. "Hey, I'll be right back," Mark said, sensing her distraction. "I need to check on the cocoa." "Sure," she replied, forcing a smile. As he walked away, Sarah turned her focus back to the fort, but her heart ached. She should have been working on the pitch, fine-tuning the details to impress those investors waiting for her promise to deliver. Each giggle and explosion of joy in front of her reminded her of the stakes lives possibly shifting because of her choices. Then, Jack called from within the fort. "Mom, come see." His voice, filled with uncontainable excitement, broke whatever thoughts were churning in her mind. She pushed herself up and climbed through the makeshift entrance. The snug space welcomed her, glowing softly under the lights. The kids were huddled together, a mix of giggles and murmurs, planning some grand adventure. "Join us," Jack exclaimed as he tugged at her arm, pulling her closer. Sarah smiled, a grin breaking through her worry. In this moment, encircled by the warmth of laughter, she felt alive again. Maybe this was what balance looked like, being present for the people she loved, even while another pull of responsibility awaited her. Mark returned, cocoa in hand, and noticed the joy radiating within the fort. "Looks like we're all on a mission," he said, grinning as he crouched beside her. "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her heart surging with unexpected hope. For a fleeting moment, she thought she could hold onto this feeling. The laughter, the love, the little adventures happening right in front of her. Couldn't this all fit into the bigger picture too? But just as that thought settled within her, another buzz from her phone echoed in her pocket. A stark reminder that life had many layers, and she was still standing at the crossroads. What's next for us? She thought, grappling with the urge to embrace the happiness against the looming obligation calling her away. Little did she know, her next move would reveal more than just her choice between two worlds. It could change everything she believed about balancing dreams and family. What would it take to thread both paths together? As the laughter echoed around her, Sarah felt a warmth radiate from her heart, wrapping around her like the cozy blankets draped over the fort. Jack's eyes sparkled with excitement as he shared stories of adventures they'd all embark on inside their snowy hideaway. Each word he spoke felt like a promise that joy didn't need to be a rare visitor. It could be a daily companion. Yet, her phone buzzed once more, tearing her focus away. She resisted the urge to check it. The choice felt monumental. Did she truly want to slip away into the business world, away from this beautiful chaos filled with the giggles of children and the warmth of camaraderie? The rising tide of doubt fought against the bright moments gathering around her like snowflakes falling slowly to the ground. "Mom, we're planning a treasure hunt," Jack exclaimed, pulling her from her thoughts. The idea lit up his face, and Sarah laughed, pulling him close. "Oh, treasure hunting is very serious business," she teased. "I know the first clue," he shouted, and her heart swelled. Every ounce of worry melted just a little bit. As the kids huddled together to make plans, Sarah caught a glimpse of Mr. Thompson helping another child steer through the throngs of laughter. He shot her a knowing smile that anchored her. Within the boundaries of the fort, the chaos became the tapestry of community, a vivid picture of support, laughter, and shared moments that refilled her soul. She took a deep breath. A seed of courage began to sprout, urging her to open the door of connection that had nearly been shut. "Sarah?" Mark's soft voice reached her ear. She turned, his beaming smile reminding her of the shared responsibilities they had navigated. "I have a quick call to make," he said, "but I'll be right back." The warmth enveloping the fort faded as he stepped away, and with him went the strength that filled this space. Her phone buzzed again, urging her to confront the obligations waiting beyond those fort walls. But amidst the drama playing out in her mind, Jack pulled at her sleeve again. "Let us go find the first clue." With a spark lighting her heart, Sarah nodded. "All right, team, let us hunt for treasure." As the group burst from the fort like firecrackers, enthusiasm surged and spilled over like cocoa warming on the stove. They ran through the soft blanket of snow, squeals of laughter dancing in the chill night air. "Here's our first clue," Jack shouted. "It says to look for the biggest pine. It's where our treasure hides." The search began with shouts of excitement, every child submerged in the game. Around her, she saw fellow neighbors joining in, laughter mixing with the wind like the best melody. Sarah watched as they all banded together, working as a team. The shadows of doubt crept back but felt dimmer. Maybe just seeing this vibrant energy could bring the courage she needed. Moments later, they gathered around the biggest pine, their next jewel in the treasure hunt. The frosty air tingled with anticipation, and as Jack read the next clue, something inside Sarah lifted, a realization dawning bright as the moon overhead. What if this sense of community could extend beyond this day? Perhaps she could keep laying the groundwork for friendship and joy even in the shadow of her responsibilities? A collective cheer rose as they discovered the treasure, a picnic basket filled with handmade treats from their neighbors. "Look what we found," Jack yelled, and they opened the basket amidst the swirl of laughter, each snack from the neighbors a testament to the spirit of unity that had blossomed around them. With each bite and each story shared, She felt something new knitting together, the acceptance of vulnerability and the embrace of community. It was a realization. Responsibilities could coexist with simple joys. Perhaps the meeting earlier was just one thread in the fabric of life she was weaving with her family and neighbors. As Sarah glanced at the gathering, she spotted Mr. Thompson. His unwavering presence felt like the anchor to this ship. He met her gaze and nodded, an unspoken acknowledgement of the journey they were all on together. In that moment, the very fabric of her fears began to turn and weave into a tapestry of hope, a beautiful scene painted with acceptance and willingness to share burdens. "Mom?" Jack asked again, sparking her attention. "Can we all have a snowball fight after this?" "Of course," she replied, filled with pure joy, ready to embrace every single challenge life would throw at her. How beautiful it was to find the community becoming her family, the very fabric of her life shifting toward rich warmth. Just then Mark returned, cocoa mugs in hand. "What did I miss?" he asked, eyes sparkling as he took in the sight of children found in camaraderie. Adults mingled within laughter. "Only the best treasure hunt," she exclaimed, wrapping an arm around him. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt whole. Perhaps every worry could coexist with joy, and this new sense of belonging could become their reality. With the stars gently peeking through the clouds, a sense of peace washed over her. Tomorrow would hold challenges. Yes, but tonight belonged to them, to every snowy laugh, to every warm embrace, to shared moments of love and hope. "Let us enjoy the evening," Mark said, his eyes shining with determination. Sarah nodded, knowing she found her footing again in this journey called life. And as laughter danced around them, she also knew that maybe, just maybe, everything she needed was here, woven delicately into the warm heart of a community that had finally welcomed her home. Now, as the snowflakes settled softly around them, Sarah whispered a silent promise to herself. This would be only the beginning of friendship, of laughter, and perhaps of creating new traditions that would tie them together year after year. The world outside blossomed beneath the starlit sky, a testament to the journey ahead. If you found this journey as inspiring as we did, you need to subscribe now so you won't miss the next incredible stories. This is the moment to show your support, and if you felt touched by Sarah's transformation, leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your thoughts on her journey and what it meant to you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Each small action helps grow our community of hope and connection. Let's spread the warmth.